Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session where we'll embark on a journey through Power Apps, starting with an introduction to the platform, followed by hands-on guidance on building both the Canvas and model-driven apps. Let's get started. Our learning objectives today are pretty much learning about the value and capabilities of Microsoft Power Apps and the ways citizens and professional developers use this technology to build simple applications for their business. So looking at our learning objective, we're just covering an introduction to Power Apps. So let's kick this off. Do you have inefficient or legacy business processes that you would like to modernize? Are you still moving information around using paper or even a shared Excel workbook? Do you want to be able to perform these business processes from different devices like PCs or mobile phones? In that case, then you need Power Apps. Power Apps is a no-code, low-code platform for building apps off concepts that are similar to formulas in an Excel workbook, such as sum and text. So you use Power Apps to build simple solutions like vehicle inspection forms, status reports, or complex business solutions for purchasing processes and inventory management. So if you envision it, an app to solve a business problem, essentially you can use your skills around to build it. So although the module is geared towards business users with little background in computer science and coding, Power Apps offers advanced functionality and the ability for seasoned developers to easily design complex applications. So let's dig into a format of Power Apps, which are called Canvas apps. So Canvas apps are typically what most people think of when they hear about Power Apps. Canvas apps lets you design and build business apps without writing code in a traditional programming language such as C#. You design the app by dragging and dropping elements onto a canvas, just as you would put together, say, a slide in PowerShell or PowerPoint. So you can create an Excel-like expressions for specifying logic and working with the data, and build apps that integrate business data from a variety of Microsoft and third-party sources. So Canvas apps allows you to connect to multiple data sources in a single application, and it provides a lot of flexibility. So you can typically represent a use case or scenario in an app such as for, let's say, incident reporting or employee onboarding or even fundraising. So share your app so that users can run it in the browser or mobile device, and then embed your app in SharePoint or Power BI or even Teams directly. Now let's dive into another type of app, which is called model-driven apps. A model-driven app is built from data in the Microsoft Dataverse, and Power Apps will build you a great-looking, fully functional app to act upon and interact with this data. With model-driven apps, there is no need to worry about choosing its size. It is responsive, meaning it works on a mobile or a tablet with no extra work for you. You define the relationships, the forms, the views, the business rules, and anything else at the data layer inside of Dataverse. And then this gives you enough control to get the business result without writing all the formulas yourself. So the model-driven app is an approach that focuses on adding components such as forms, views, charts, dashboards to tables using a very specific tool. Additionally, relationships can connect to tables together in a way that permits navigation between them and ensures that data is not repeated unnecessarily. So using the app designer with little or no code, you can build apps that are simple or very complex. Model-driven apps are especially well suited to process-driven apps that are data dense and make it easier for users to move between related records. So for example, if you're building an app to manage a complex process such as onboarding new employees, managing a sales process, or member relationships in an organization such as a bank, a model-driven app is a really great choice. While they're called model-driven apps, it's often easier to think of them as data model-driven apps. This is because without a data model housed within Microsoft Dataverse, you just can't build a model-driven app. Security and administration. So in the Power Automate Learn module, you also see that Power Automate has the ability to automate these tasks. You can download a Center of Excellence starter kit, a collection of components or tools that are designed to help you get started with developing a strategy for adopting and supporting Microsoft Power Platform with a focus on Power Apps and Power Automate. By now, you should understand that Power Apps does not require traditional code like C#, setting a low technology barrier for entry. So if you know your business process, you can start to write your first app. For many businesses, this means that apps are not coming from IT, but directly from frontline business users. In the same way that a finance department employee might build their own Excel workbooks, they can create their own Power Apps. Let's take a look at a case study. talking about Heathrow Airport. So 76,000 workers and 200,000 travelers in a single day. Uh, Power Apps was able to empower frontline workers to build apps to solve problems. So this one particular user, Smith Sini, former security worker turned app maker, created an app that held security information translated into dozens of different languages. So just an example of the success that frontline workers can have by using Power Apps. Let's get started by learning how to build a Canvas app. Building Canvas apps typically refers to creating a web application that uses HTML5 Canvas elements to draw graphics, animations, and interactive content. Canvas apps are commonly used for games, data visualization, and other interactive web applications. So let's talk about the basic elements that go into building a Canvas app, or really just any app. So the Power App Studio is the web interface that you use to build your app. With Power Apps, there's no client or download to install for building apps. Everything is done from the browser by logging into make.powerapps.com. The app format. So the very first step is creating your app is to choose the format, either mobile or tablet. While both formats can be used interchangeably on a mobile device, a tablet, or a computer, each has different defaults around sizing and screen controls. So after you choose the format for an app, you can't change it. Galleries use the gallery control to display records from a table of data, and records are then defined by a template, which you can use to customize in order to meet your needs. So this allows you to control which fields are shown and how they're formatted. Power Apps will apply this template automatically for you to every record in your data. Forms are focused on working with a very specific table row, so a record. This is often based on a selection from a gallery, and in this experience, a user browses a gallery to find and select a desired row that displays the details on the form. So forms enable a user to not only view detailed information, but also to save new rows and edit existing ones. So the various actions are controlled by form modes, allowing the form to serve many purposes. And then there's also input controls, and these allow maximum flexibility in customizing your apps. So Power Apps has a large selection of input controls like text inputs, buttons, drop downs, toggles, date pickers, sliders. Those are just a few examples. And you can add these controls to galleries, forms, screens to build functional and aesthetically pleasing experiences for your apps. All inputs have a multitude of settings for default data, formatting, and actions which allow you to build an app that has the right user experience for your business process. When we're talking about intelligent controls, in addition to common inputs covered above, Power Apps also provides a rich set of controls for more advanced operations. There are hardware-based controls which allow access to the camera, let's say a barcode scanner, GPS, and other features. There's also service-back controls like the business card reader or an object detector, and these allow you to add AI to your app without writing code. Then functions. Functions are the glue that binds all these controls, inputs, and data sources together. So you can use one or more functions to create formulas in your apps. And these formulas are similar to the language that you use in Excel and can be used for actions such as sending data to a data source, formatting information, creating animations, and more. So no complicated data code is necessary when you create these powerful functions with straightforward inputs to enhance your app. So again, no complicated code necessary. You just need powerful functions like these with straightforward inputs to enhance your app. So now that you have an overview of some of the rich functionality that you can achieve with Power Apps, next session we'll look at how we can build our very first app. So the Power Apps Studio is the web interface that you use to build your app. With Power Apps, there's no client or download. Again, as we mentioned in the previous slide, everything's done from the browser by logging into make.powerapps.com. The Web Studio is the premier authoring experience for creating Power Apps and is the recommended way to build your apps. When we talk about the app format, again, it's the first step in choosing your app. So when you're creating your app, you choose the format. Is it mobile or tablet? Again, these formats can be used interchangeably on a mobile device or a tablet or even a computer, and each have different defaults around sizing or screen controls. So once you choose your format for your app, you can't change it. Keep that in mind as you're deciding which format to use. Forms are focused on working with a very specific table row. often based on a selection from a gallery. And in this experience, the user browses a gallery to find the selected row that displays the information details on the form. So Forms enables users to not only view detailed information, but also save new rows and edit existing ones. The various actions are controlled by form modes that allow the form to serve many purposes. Input controls. To allow maximum flexibility in customizing your app, Power Apps has a large selection of input controls. A few of them we named at the beginning of this section. You can add these controls to galleries, forms, and screens to build a functional and aesthetically pleasing experience for your app. All inputs have a multitude of settings for default data, formatting, and which actions you want to build into the app that has the right user experience for your business process. Now, if we talk about intelligent controls, it's a rich set of controls for more advanced operations. So we touched on that briefly, talking about interaction and access to the camera, using a barcode scanner or GPS, and there's a ton of other features that are available there. There's also service back controls like a business card reader or object detector, and that allows you to integrate AI into your app without having to write any code. Functions are the glue that binds all these controls, inputs, and data sources together. The one ring that rules them all. You use one or more functions to create formulas in your apps, and these formulas are similar to the language that you use in Excel and can be used for actions such as sending data to a data source, formatting information, creating animations, and more. So no complicated code is necessary. You just need powerful functions with straightforward inputs to enhance your app. Now that you have an overview of some of the rich functionality that you can achieve with Power Apps, the next section will show you how to build your very first app. So let's hop into the Build a Canvas app demo, and we'll run through that right away. All right, let's kick off this demo where we're going to be looking at how to build a Canvas app. Remember the scenario from the first demo? If you had a chance to watch it. If not, definitely go review the first demo. Otherwise, essentially the scenario, just as a quick summary, we're working for Bellows College, which is an educational organization. They have multiple campuses, and they want an efficient way to track campus visits. So currently what they're using is an Excel spreadsheet, and what they want to do is modernize the visitor registration system, where access to buildings is controlled by security personnel, and all the visits are required to be pre-registered and recorded. So let's dig into how to create this Canvas app. So first of all, let's open up a web browser and head to make.powerapps.com. Again, just make sure that we have the right environment selected. So in this case, I've selected my dev environment. Make sure that you're using an environment that is not in production for these tests. So next up, what we want to do is create a new Canvas app. So let's go ahead and click on Create. And what we're going to do is create the Canvas app based on data from our Dataverse, which is what we did in the first demo where we imported the visits table and created that new table. So let's click Dataverse. So we'll create a new connection to get started. And next we'll select Microsoft Dataverse. It's right there. And we'll click Create. Again, just to note that this is a premium connector. Click Create. And it's going to ask me to authenticate in. So I'll go ahead and authenticate. And I do want to confirm and allow access so that I can access the data. Now it's going to list out a bunch of tables that are available under this connection that we just established to the Dataverse. I want to use the visits table, which is the one that we created earlier in the previous demo. And let's click Connect. There we go. So when you're launching your very first time using Power Apps Studio, this window might pop up. You can just click Don't Show Me This Again and click Skip. Now, as you can see, just based off of the table data that we had previously imported in the previous demo, we can see that the Canvas app was able to generate successfully, and we can even go and run the Power App immediately. So let's go ahead up at the top right-hand corner here and select the Preview App button. So this is what the Canvas app looks like out of the box. We can see what it looks like on tablet view, on different types of mobile devices, and we can also see what it looks like from the browser. And even if we change, we can see that for the most part, it looks like it's staying in a very similar sort of configuration. So what we can do is look at how the app will behave. So we can see different sign-ins, click on them, look at the details that are based on this entry, and see additional information here. So that's the basics of just generating a Canvas app based on data that we previously imported. So let's just exit out of the preview for now and head back into the Power App Studio. So at this point, we've successfully created our very first Canvas app based on data that we previously imported. The next step in this process, even though we have a basic app that's been created, we do want to customize it and make it a little bit better and fit, the Bellows College branding, as well as customize it to their needs. So let's go ahead and modify the theme of this newly created app. So what we're going to do is look at modifying the header text of each of the three screens in the app, which is the browse, detail, and edit portions of the app. So right now we're on the browse screen. So what we're going to want to do is select the visits label on the screen. So on the right-hand side of the screen here, we have the different properties that are associated with the object that we selected. So here we have at the top is just the text that's showing in the text in the label. So what we can do is change this, and we'll change it to Bellows College Visits. There we go. In the Properties tab, what we might want to do is change it to a different font size, because right now it's cut off as it hits the buttons on the right-hand side here. So let's set that to, let's try 24. Oh, there we go. That looks better. Put it to 24, and then we'll just select outside of the label to deselect the label. So just clicking on the blank background here in order to deselect that. So next up, what we want to look at is the details screen. So on the left-hand side, we've got the different screens that are available for the app. So we just modified the browse screen and the label app name up at the top. So next up, let's go and select the details screen. And now we can see the details label. So we're going to want to do the same thing up at the properties for this label, is just modify that so it looks a little more fluid, and we'll name that visits details. Visit details. There we go. And again, we don't really need to change the font size because it's not being cut off by any additional items at the top. So we can just click out and update the label name. Next up on the tree view here, let's go ahead and do the same thing for the edit view. So the edit screen, we're going to want to click visits at the top again. And let's change the name here to edit details. And let's just exit out of here. And let's go take a look at modifying our theme so that it fits with Bellows College's style. So back into tree view, we'll head back to the browse screen. And up here on the command toolbar, there's a button called theme. We can choose a different theme. So dependent on the style that your company is looking for, or what their standards are. There's standard screens. We can also customize the screen as we see fit. But in this case, what Bellows wants is red as the theme. So selecting the theme, you can see how it updates the browse screen and the rest of the app as well. So now that we've made some changes to the look and feel, let's go ahead and test the new app. So with our application open, we can go select settings and then general, and we're going to want to update the name of the app as well so that we can test this out and get the full experience. So we'll go to the settings option here, and let's rename our app, and we will name it Visits App, and click Close. So we can see that the name of the app changed up at the top here, so we're good to go on that front. Let's go back to the browse screen, and we'll click on Preview App. So to get a kind of experience of what it might look like for somebody who's looking at the scheduled items or the history of the item of the scheduled visits, let's look for somebody named Maria. We'll just type that into the search, press enter, and we can see a bunch of different visits coming up under Maria Campbell. So now let's try to find the Contoso Suites item. There we go. And we can also select to edit this item if we see fit. So in this case, what I did was looked at Maria, tried to find any items that were associated with Maria. We've got a Maria Campbell here for Contoso Suites. We'll select it. Inside the visit details, we can select edit, and we can change details of the visit name here, and then select the check mark up at the top. So let's say we'll just do test for now, and click apply. And now that we can see that Maria Campbell's entry here has been updated, and that will reflect back in the table data as well. So it's not more complicated than that. We've just successfully generated our very first Canvas app based on the data that we imported in the very first demo. So congratulations, you have a fully functional app now to track registrations and visits to college campus locations. So moving on, we'll continue exploring the rest of the session and see you back in the PowerPoint presentation. All right, so let's talk about sharing an app. Now that you've created an app, you can share it with specific users, groups, or your entire organization. And when you share an app with other people, they can run it in a browser or in the players for Apple iOS, Google Android, and even better, you can give someone permission to update the app. So these permissions are very crucial as you're starting to develop this app and getting feedback on how the app is performing in your organization and in your environment. So let's move on. Let's take a look at how to build a model-driven app now. So a model-driven app consists of several components that you select by using the app designer. Components and component properties become the metadata. And let's look more closely at these components as we move into this. Model-driven app design is a component-focused approach to app development, and it does not require code, and the apps that you can make can be very simple or very complex. So unlike Canvas app development, where the designer has complete control, much of the layout is determined for you largely by the components that you add. So model-driven design uses metadata-driven architecture so that you can customize apps without writing code. So to model business data, you determine what data the app will need to display and how it will relate to other data. Metadata means data about data and defines the structure of the data stored in the Dataverse. Define your business processes. Defining and enforcing consistent business processes is a key aspect of model-driven app design. Consistent processes help ensure that your app users can focus on their work and not have to worry about having to remember to complete a set of manual steps. So processes can be simple or complex, and they often do change over time. Building an app. So after modeling the data and defining the processes, you build your app by selecting and setting up the components you need in the app designer. So what are the building blocks of a model-driven app? It consists of several components that you select by using the app designer, and the components and their properties become the metadata. So these components include data, different data components that can make up a model-driven app, are tables, columns, relationships. Then we have user interface components, which determine how users will interact with the app and what designer is used to create or edit the component. So we could have the app, the sitemap, forms, views. When we talk about logic components, these are the components that determine what the business processes, the rules, and the automation the app will have. So logic types, business process flows, workflows, actions, business rules, and other types of flows. Visualization. The visualization components determine what type of data and reporting the app will show and have available, and which designer is used to create or edit that component. So those are charts, dashboards, embedded Power BI. So let's look at the design of model-driven apps. When we're looking at forms, we're defining how users will see and interact with the data. And when we talk about views, it's a list of views of the rows for each of the tables. Charts, we're showing the data in a meaningful visual representation. Then we're talking about dashboards, providing an insightful graphical overview of the data model where we can view the app metadata and view the app in play mode. And then the business logic, so where we're setting business rules, build business process flows, and then dashboards where we can implement dashboards with custom filters and visual graphics. So additional third-party solutions and app accelerators will be found in that area as well. Let's hop into our next demo where we're going to build out our first model-driven app. All right, everybody, let's kick into our third demo where we're going to look at how to build a model-driven app. Again, we're going to stick with the same scenario that we were using across demo 1 and demo 2. So this is, again, based on the campus visitors recording and improving the overall registration system where access to buildings is controlled for Bellows College, which is that educational organization that we've been working for. So what we'll do is look at how we get into building this model-driven app. So to get started, essentially, we need to, again, open up make.powerapps.com. So let's open up our browser and head to make.powerapps.com. Just double check again that we're in the right environment. We are in our development environment, so we're good to go on that side. And next, what we're going to want to do is go and pull up our visits table. So using navigation on the left here, let's go and click on tables and scroll down until we find our visit table, and we'll go and select that. So next up, when we're inside the tables view here, we can see that we have our data. We already previously built that Canvas app. Now let's go and look at data experiences. So under data experiences, we have forms. And what we're going to want to do is click on forms. Next up, we want to look at the information form with the main form type. So not the quick view or card form. We're looking at the main form type information. So let's go ahead and click on information. So next here, we've got our form up. Now what we're going to want to do is look at the right-hand side of the screen where we've got information, where we've got the properties of our main form. So looking at the properties, we can see that the current display name is information. It's kind of unclear because if we go back, we can see that we've got 3 different types of information with the same name, and it's not clear which form type we want to use. So just again, we do want to make sure that we're using main. By clicking on information here, we can actually go ahead and change the display name so that it says main information, just so that's clear in the future. Next up, what we want to do is select table columns. So we're going to look at the left-hand nav pane here where we've got the different columns available in the table. And we're going to want to select the following columns and drag them into the form here. So the columns that we're going to need is visitor, so just clicking it, we could pull it in. I thought dragging it worked as well. Oh yeah, it does. Okay, so dragging it is fine as well. We can do that. So we don't need status. I'm just going to pull that out. So we'll get rid of status. So I accidentally pulled in status reason underneath visitor here. And you can see how we can manipulate that. So by adding status reason, which is one that we don't need, you can just select the form or the column and then just click delete. It doesn't delete the data, it just deletes the label from appearing in our form. So in this case, I've got visitors, so that's a good start. Next up, we want scheduled start, we want scheduled end, and we want scheduled actual start and actual end. Next up, we're going to want to pull up the code column and drop it in the form header. So the header is the top right area of the form. And we do want to make sure that the code shows up here so we get the ID. So let's do that, and we'll drop it up here at the top. So this lets us see what number of visit that we're currently on. And next, what we're going to want to do is just modify this so that the code, by selecting it, is read-only. Remember, this is an auto-generated number that we added to our table. Next up, in the owner field, we are going to want to select this and make sure that the owner field is named host instead, because this is the person who's creating the entry, so the person who's hosting the visitor. And next up, we will just go and select save and publish. So this might just take a little while while it's saving and publishing up at the top, but essentially what we've done is set everything up, and this just looks like a little graphic area there. Okay, there. So save and publish, we saw that it gave us the green checkbox, so we're good to go. We can move back to our forms area, and here we can see that our main form, main information has been updated and created properly. So next, from this area, we can select from the breadcrumbs area, we'll just head back to our visit table. So next up, we're going to want to create and edit an active visits view so that we can set up a view for today's visits. So under data experience section, we're going to set up a view. And now we can look at the active visits view that's here. And we're going to just want to set up the view as a default experience for the application. So let's go ahead and select active visits. And again, we're just going to drag the columns, the fields into the appropriate place that we want to see. So in this case, we're going to add the following fields. We're going to add code. We're going to add visitor and scheduled start and scheduled end. All right, next up, we can see that the way that the columns are being sorted is a bit off, and we might want to enforce columns to be sorted in a different way. So right now we can see that the sort here with the arrow pointing down is currently based on the name column. So let's go get rid of that. Get rid of the sort for the name column, and we're going to go and select the sort by scheduled start instead. And what we might want to do is select the filter by active is fine. We're going to want to sort by newer to older. Clicking here. And there we go. So now we've got the most recent versus the oldest at the bottom. So we're good to go. So let's say save and publish. And we just have to wait for that to give us that checkbox. There we go. All right, so now that we've finished building out our active views, we'll want to create a view for today's visits. So let's go ahead and just build off of the one that we've already created. So we'll save as, and we'll just duplicate this view so that we have one for today's visits. So let's name that today's visits, and we'll click save. So next up, what we're going to want to do is filter this so that it doesn't have all of the visits that have been previously recorded. We just want to show the ones that are for today. So let's go ahead and click on the filters here. So we'll go to edit filters, and we're going to add a new row. And this is going to be for scheduled start. Where is it? Scheduled start. And that equals today. Click OK here. Next up, what we're going to want to do is get rid of the status is active. Get rid of that filter. And let's add actual start and actual end to the view so that we can have some more details on this view. So there, so now we've got name, code, visitor, scheduled start, scheduled end. Just resize that a little bit, make it look nice and pretty. End, that's good. So next up, we can save this. So again, this doesn't surprise me that we're not seeing anything in this window because schedule start is today. We're a bit ahead of when the previous Excel spreadsheet was created, so we'll just have to play with new entries that we'll add here. So next up, let's go ahead and create our model-driven app. So we've saved and published this. We can head back to make.powerapps.com. So we'll head back to our home screen here. So again, make sure that we've selected the appropriate environment, and we'll click Create, and we'll click on Blank App. So next up, what we want to do is create a blank app based on Dataverse, because we're building it based on our model that we've already created. So we'll click Create here. Next up, what we're going to want to do is name this something that makes sense. In this case, it's Bellows Campus Management for our scheduling. And let's click Create. So on this next page, it's going to ask us if we want to, how we want to behave, how we want the app to behave. And so we're going to be creating some pages, and we're also going to be selecting our Dataverse tables. So what we're going to do here is click Add Page, and we're going to select Dataverse Table, and we're going to use the following tables. So we're going to want to select Visit, which we already have, and we're going to want to select Contact as well, because we have a relationship with that table too. So we selected existing tables, we selected Contact and Visit, Contact and Visit, and we can click Add. There we go. So next up on the left-hand side, we've got our navigation pane. We can see the different views that are associated with the pane. We're going to want to create a new grouping, and we're going to change some of the properties of the app. So let's start by using some of the navigation settings here under the new group, and we're going to rename this one. So we'll select new group, and we're going to name this security. There we go. So you can see the grouping here in the middle of the screen: security, contacts, visits. So now let's just go ahead and save our app. Because again, we don't have to do any customization on this side. It's imported our views. And what we can do is now say publish after we've saved it. All right, so our app is created and is now published. Let's go ahead and test it. Just click the play button up at the top right. All right, so now we've got contacts. So we have, it loads up by default to the My Active contacts, and we do not currently have a contact. So let me just minimize Copilot here on the right-hand side, and let's go ahead and create our very first contact. So we'll click New, and we can fill out the contact information form. So in this case, we're going to be creating a contact name John Doe, and we'll just add an email here. Doesn't exist, but And we can add any additional information that's required for the contact information. In this case, it's really just the email that's important. So we'll click Save. So by clicking Save, you can see that additional options have popped up at the top. In this case, we don't need to do any other additional details, so we'll just click Save and Close, and that'll take us back to the contacts pane. So let's go ahead and create a new visit. So to create a new visit, we'll click on the Visits view here. So we've got the list of active visits. We've also got additional views. Remember, today's visits. So in this case, we have active visits selected. Let's go ahead and create a new visit. In this case, the visit will be just a test visit. The host is myself, and the visitor is John Doe. Start time, let's say today at 8 a.m. End time, we'll go a little bit later than 8 a.m. We'll say 4 p.m. And end time is 7 p.m. So we've got John Doe coming for a visit today at 4 p.m. So we'll say save and close. Now you can see that new test visit popped up on our active visits view. And if we go and click on today's visits, there we go. We've got John Doe showing up today at 4 p.m. So at this point, if you're following along in your own lab environment, feel free to add additional visits as needed, and it'll just fill out the today's visits view for you. You can also explore the other options around inactive visits and visits that are in progress and things like that. But that wraps it up for generating our very first model-driven app. Hope you enjoyed. Let's head back into the presentation. Thank you for joining us today. With a solid foundation in Power Apps and a practical experience in creating Canvas and model-driven apps, you're now equipped to harness the power of app development to solve business challenges creatively. There are many ways to continue your learning journey, and we encourage you to watch other videos in this course or search out your next favorite topic on Microsoft Learn.